Hello, this is Dr. Yamada. In this video, I'm going to introduce how to create a bar graph using a Microsoft Excel sheet. In some cases, you may want to create a bar graph and each bar represents a single person. However, in scientific field, when you use bar graphs, almost all the times, a single bar usually represents a representative value of a group. So for example, let's take a look at this. So you have three different groups, and within each group there are multiple individuals. And you want to create a bar graph, something like this. Each bar represents overall value, the overall tendency of each group. Like on average, group one behaved this way, group two behaved that way, and so on. So when you think about creating a bar graph, one of the very first steps you need to do is to obtain that representative value. In many scientific fields, that representative value tend to be the mean. And other pieces of information you may need is standard error or standard deviation to create a bar graph. Calculate the mean, calculate the standard deviation, and then start making a graph. After that, you can insert error bars. And after that, we can work on some aesthetics. Okay. For this video, I'm just going to use a standard deviation. First, calculate the mean. So when you use a function of an Excel, you always need to start with an equal sign. And then the function of calculating the mean is average and parenthesis. And you choose the value by clicking and highlighting the cells that you want to include and hit enter. Then you can obtain the average of these 10 values. You can do the exact same thing like this, or alternatively, you can move your cursor to the right bottom corner and then move it, drag it to the right. Then the same function will be applied. So the next step is to calculate the standard deviation. The function of the standard deviation is stdiv. And when you see stdiv function, you can see stdivp and stdivs. In most scenario, you would need stdivs, which is the standard deviation of a sample. When you want to calculate the standard deviation of the population, then you will use stdivp. Okay, so now you've obtained all the values you need to create a bar graph. So let's make a bar graph. So when you create a bar graph, it's much easier for you to include the title of the value, the title that associates with the value. You can just choose the values, but then you're gonna have to re-enter the name of each bar, right? Group one, group two, group three again. So it's much easier to include both the name that associates with the value and the values that you want to include. And when you highlight these title and the values, go to the Insert tab and choose the bar icon, bar graph icon. And let's choose the very first one. Okay, now you have created a bar graph. The next step is to insert an error bar. First, you click on any space of the bar graph, and then you will see this plus mark. And you click on that, and you can see many different options. Now you want to check error bars. You need to go here, click on the arrow, and then more options. if you scroll down all the way, you have an option to choose custom. Once you click on custom, you can find a specify value. Click on that. Now you will see a new pop-up menu. Then you see positive error value and negative error value. What you're going to do is you're going to highlight the standard deviation like this. And you do the exact same thing for the negative error bars. So that's how you insert error bars. Now you can work on some aesthetics. So one of the things I want you to notice is that by default, the Microsoft Excel have very thin error bar. So what you can do is you double click on the bars, then you can see the format error bar options. When you go down here, you can change the color. Is by default is gray. You can choose to make it to black, and then you can also change the thickness of the error bar. So let's pick 1.25. Another things I want you to notice is that the font size is very small and also their gray scale. So when you just copy and paste this type of bar graph, the default bar graph, especially when you do a presentation, then readers or the audience will not be able to read them. So what you can do is click on the figure again, and you can change the color to black, and you can change the size, the font size. Let's use 14. Now it's much easier to see, right? Another thing you can do is you can also add the title of the axis. The basic rule of the axis is that if the axis title is redundant, in that case, you can remove that, but nobody knows what this value means. So the y-axis is almost always necessary. So let's add the title, the exam scores. So let's compare and insert the default graph and how different they are. Look at this. This is much clearer after you edit it. So one of the most important things you have to know is that a default version of bar graph is not really appealing on